When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Molby On The Spot. And you know what that means? That means you are lucky enough to be able to hear the opinions of Mr. Jan Molby. So let's welcome him back to your ears again. Good evening, Jan.
Good evening, Trevor. Hope you're well. I hope you enjoyed last week's game a little bit more than we have been.
Yes. Nice for it to not be awful for a change. Nice for us to not have, the really, really unpleasant task of having to pull apart things falling apart. We'll talk about, the whole too little, too late. We'll talk about the positivity. We'll talk about the end of an era. We'll talk about all those things because that seems to be what's dominating people's thoughts. I don't know if you heard today, Jan, but I just got a few people sent me a link to, there's a do on the 26th, Tuesday the 26th, featuring some local artists, Liverpool musicians, and hosted by a couple of people you'd know as well, certainly one person from LFC TV. And it's basically an evening with Jurgen, an evening to celebrate Klopp's time at the club. And I think it's a nice idea. It seems when you think about it like that, the 26th of May, that's quite soon. And I think a lot of people aren't quite prepared for at the end arriving. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people are a little bit in denial as yet. And this whole Arne Slot thing seems, it's like theory, it's out there. We're still playing games. Jurgen's still the gaffer. But when you think about that and how sharply that's going to come around the 26th of May, does that mean is he out of contract then? What does that mean? Like, how quickly is it all going to be over? But it will be within days of that for sure, at the best case scenario. So the end is nigh, Jan, and I think a lot of people aren't ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Would you think that an evening with Jurgen Klopp to finish it all off would be better off in 12 months' time? Because it's still going to be awkward for Klopp to say anything slightly controversial, in case there is anything controversial. I'm not suggesting, but there probably is one or two things he might be able, or he might want to get off his chest, and so it might have been better off doing it maybe in 12 months' time. And it's not as if the interest would have cooled in any way, shape, or form. He would always be able to fill whatever arenas there is in Liverpool to listen to Jurgen, which, he's a very engaging man, isn't he? The funny thing with everything that's happening now, Trevor, and I hadn't been that much part of it because being at Anfield on Sunday for the Spurs game was the first time I was at Anfield for a couple of weeks since the Palace game. And I hadn't really been out and about because I'd been away, I'd been abroad a lot and whatever. So I went to Anfield on Sunday, and then So we're doing the show on a Thursday, and Chester Races on, Trevor. So I went to Chester Races yesterday with John Barnes, and obviously a lot of Liverpool fans. And I think there's generally a lot of, I wouldn't say necessarily negativity about Arne Slot in it, but not many people are impressed, are they? You know, it's very difficult, even when you, and even John did a good job. We did a good job of trying to sell the idea of Arne Slot to Liverpool fans, and they kind of come back and go, yeah, but he's only ever done it in Holland, and look what happened to Erik ten Hag and whatever. And I go, well, yeah, but I mean, do we just assume that every Dutchman is exactly the same? You know, and then of course the argument of there hasn't been many Dutch managers, head coaches in England, which is true in fairness. There hasn't been that many, and there probably hasn't been that many who's done that well either, is it? But I just think we need to find a bit of positivity, don't we, Trevor? You know what I mean? I'm quite looking forward to it all. There will be news things happening. As much as we say we needed a manager who plays and does things in very much the way that Jurgen did, there'll be a lot of changes, isn't it? You know what I mean? And if you're a student of the game, you'll be able to see all the changes that Arne will be bringing, whether that's in personnel or the way that we play, the way that we approach things, isn't it? And our big job, Trevor, is to stop going every time Jurgen would have done that. That would have never happened when Jurgen was there. You know, we need to get away from this, because that is a killer. You know, that is an absolutely killer. I had it when I came on a lesser scale, because there was no social media, there was no pundits on TV, but, you know, he's not like Souness, you know what I mean? And we need to do exactly the same with Arne Slot. No, he's not Klopp. And Arne Slot knows he's not Klopp. And he has no intention of doing things that the way Klopp did it, because he does things in a different way. And so I just find that would, for me, Trevor, be the most annoying thing. I can't stand if I had to listen for 12 months to people going, oh, well, you know, Jurgen would have never done that. No, but Jurgen is no longer here. Let's support the man who is here.
I fear that if the results are not good immediately, and that's exactly what we'll be listening to. I think you could be right. I think that's exactly the type of thing that will be impossible to avoid if it's not going well for the new man from the start. That's sadly true. And I do want to talk to you a little bit about that, because I got myself into a tense enough sort of over and back scenario with some people who may or may not be actually real people on the Twitter sphere around about this topic. I'll come back to that, but I'm fascinated by the idea of yourself and John Barnes at the races. How does a day like that go for you? Are you comparatively unmolested by the crowd, or do you get a lot of people coming up to you guys on a day like that when you're literally out with your mate to the races?
So it starts off like this, Trevor. He rings me and he goes, what time we got to be there? Where is it? And don't forget, I want 100 to 1 certainty. That's how it goes, you know. So, and it's pretty straightforward. It states on your ticket, John, the doors open at 11:30. Within the corporate hospitality in the middle of the race course. In case you didn't know, it's Chester Races. And I can't make up 100 to 1 certainty, because I can't change the prices of the winners, you know, and I think it'll be relatively short price winners because Chester is a favourite course, and that's how it goes. In terms of travelling with the lads, I know we're not travelling with at Chester Races, but I've never travelled with anyone as recognisable as John Barnes.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. We go to the airport, Trevor, it's 18-year-old hen parties going to Ibiza. There's John Barnes. You know, there's no end to it. I don't know how he does it. You know, I have great admiration for him. And as we're walking into the course and we're walking across and whatever, you know, he stops for every single picture. You know what I mean? It's quite, but John is unbelievably recognisable, isn't it? So, but, you know, once the word sort of gets around, and there's other, you know, Michael Owen is there in his capacity as a racehorse owner, and of course there's big names within the racing world and whatever. And after a while, he sort of chills itself out, isn't it? But John is not as visible in terms of I go and look at the horse in the parade ring, and I go and have a bet with the bookies and whatever. John tends to stay in the area where we are and just sort of hangs with the people that has invited us, isn't it? But, you know, it's always an experience being with John, isn't it? Because, you know, it's 80-year-old grannies and 18-year-old, you know, everybody just loves John Barnes, you know.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that would be the case, especially when you're not getting too far away from home there.
Yeah,
the recognisability factor goes up another notch then. And I was wondering, like, would you be able to just kind of relax, or is it always someone looking for a photo or that type of thing?
The pictures, to be fair, Trevor, they're the easy ones, aren't they?
Right.
It's the group. It's the group. When I went for my first bet, you just got 1 o'clock, isn't it? And then they go, right, and I've gone, yep, and I'm walking because I'm going to have a bet. You know what I mean? And they go, oh, we need to talk to you. We need to talk to you. Anyway, they group you around. You don't mean you can't escape, can you? You know what I mean? And they want to know everything. What do you know about this fella? And he's not happy, and he doesn't rate him. And what do you want me to do? I'm looking at the clock and go, 1:30 is the first race now. Let me go. And I've been best off staying talking to him because the bet went down, Trevor. But I didn't know that before then. Believe me, before I put on the bet, I thought he was going to win.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, I mean, geez, God bless your patience. I have to say, it's nice to hear that you do engage with people, because on any level I can imagine that's quite not necessarily an imposition, but you have to deal with it all the time. It's that can't be easy. And
what they want at a race meeting is a tip, isn't it? Because they assume you got a tip. You know what I mean? And I hate tips because people assume the tips wins. Most of them don't win, and people go, you must have something. We go, yeah, but we hear loads of things. Yeah, I mean, Michael Owen gave me 4 yesterday, and none of them were even placed. So that's how good Michael is. That's how the world is. In fairness, Trev, I didn't back any of them because I didn't fancy any of them. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
But I did bump into fantasy football 1996, Badil and Skinner.
Oh yeah,
on TV. Do you remember the guy in the pajamas, Statso? I bumped into him outside. Yeah, I bumped into him outside, and Statso is a great student of horse racing, and what are you doing there, Statso? And he whispers. He always whispers. I'm here to back this one horse, he said. And to be fair, the horse won at 11-4, so that was a good start to the race. So yeah, that was a great. And when you go, Trevor, you want to go every day. When I go racing, I want to go every day for the rest of my life. Yeah, but it doesn't work like that. I just get such a buzz from it. I enjoy the social element of it. I enjoy the challenge it is to try and work out who might win a race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just love it. So,
it's like I've said to you, it's an alien pleasure to me. Some of these days I'm going to have to engage. It's not like I'm not surrounded by courses. I mean, there's literally Navan a few miles away from me, and then there's Bellewstown, there's Bettystown, there's all these different ones right around me, which you've probably heard of and had bets on races there. So I mean, yeah, you're going
to have one problem, Trevor, because you're Irish. Because you're Irish, everybody assumes you know something about racing.
Oh yeah, I know. I've already had that.
Absolutely.
Cab drivers from John Lennon they just assume. Okay, well, so what they just assume. And I'm like, I don't have a clue. I barely know one end of a horse from the other. So yeah, it's the other thing I wanted to ask you real quick is, it was more the way you phrased it. Why do you think was John trying to sell Arne Slot in a kind of, let's not be too downhearted, or because he's a genuinely upbeat person, or was he doing it from a sort of like, club responsibility perspective? Why was he trying to jolly them out of any negativity?
No, I'm not going to say like John wouldn't show the line in terms of that, but John is a man of opinions. I always say to people, when they go, "Oh, did you listen to John Barnes the other day?" And I go, "Yeah." I said, "But did you actually listen to what he said?" A lot of people just go, "Oh, John's talking," and I said, "But do you ever bother to listen to what he talks about? Because he's actually very interested and very, very intelligent on a number of subjects." So I don't think John would be in public towing the line just because he's an ambassador for Liverpool Football Club supporting Arne Klopp. He didn't think that Arne Klopp would be the right man. I think he would be quite capable of going, "I don't like this appointment," but he admits that he hasn't seen a lot of final, neither have I. And he said, "I've read up a few things and I kind of like the idea." And also, the one thing, the conclusion you always come to is, whoever we're going to appoint, there was always going to be something. Even Xabi Alonso, had he come along, people would have gone, "Oh, he's got no experience." He's only been in Germany or whatever. So there was always a risk, isn't it? But I don't know. I'm just sort of trying to put it all together, Trevor. and see how we move forward with this Arne Slot, stroke Richard Hughes, stroke Michael Edwards. And I think, in principle, it's very, very exciting. I think in the real world, it's a hell of a gamble, because I'm not convinced, Trevor, that we are now going to continue down the road of David Nunez, 75 million, Dominic Szoboszlai, 60-odd million. I think we're going to try and rein ourselves back in and go, let's try and see if we can go back to where we found a bit of value in some players and some stats that maybe other clubs haven't seen. Because I'm also hearing, Trevor, that they have a number of issues now with players coming towards the end of their contract. And also, I wouldn't say unhappy players, but players who are looking for the pay rise. So, even your boy, the goalkeeper Kelleher, by all accounts, he's looking for an improved contract if he's going to stay at Liverpool, which you can kind of understand, because he is a Premier League quality, isn't it? Luis Diaz, I believe that is a real stumbling block in terms of him, that he wants a significant pay rise. Virgil van Dijk is more than happy to listen, but it's going to take a bit, for the club to convince him. And I think that comes back to probably the one thing that Michael Edwards would have hated more than anything, and that was Mohamed Salah's contract. That would have been the one thing Michael, when he was out of work at Liverpool, he'd have sat and gone, whoa, this always causes problems in it, because you've now shown a willing to pay a certain amount of money, isn't it? So I think there's some issues, and I think we're going to go back to where we always did well, Trevor, isn't it? That from the clubs that we bought the players were earning 40, 50, 60 grand. We could double that wages and make them happy.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it'll be in our interest to start signing players who are already on 100 grand, then needing to maybe give them another 50 or 100% on top. So I think it'll be very interesting. Whether it's as easy as of course it isn't easy, Trevor, we know that.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
No, nothing easy about it. And actually, that's a great segue into what I wanted to talk to you about. I kind of alluded to the fact that I found myself in a very fraught kind of interaction with several people on the back of a tweet, which it had this, I'm paraphrasing myself, but the general gist of it was this, Jan, and this is, I want to put it to you because I'm curious to see what you think about this, whether you think I'm an entitled, typical fan or not. My take on it was, Arne Slot, all for it, excited, looking forward to the new start. The decision's been made. Let's get after it. But I don't want to hear any talk about transition, and I don't want to hear any talk about it's going to take a few years, a couple of seasons for him to settle in, because we've already acknowledged that this is one of the best squads that's ever been put together, that Jurgen Klopp had begun the building of Liverpool 2.0. Now, you take Jurgen out of there, you better be ready to appoint someone who's going to be able to continue the role. I don't think, when you look at the quality of our squad, we can be accepting anything less than being involved in a title challenge and trying to go as deep as possible in the Champions League. Now, that sentiment seemed to bring out an awful lot of oddballs who you see them quite often. They're like FSG apologists, or they think that any sort of demanding of success is, I don't know, it seems to be maybe oddly un-British or something. We must allow them time to settle in. Part of the time, I think, yeah, these people just want to argue because they want to argue, and I don't tend to give them any leeway in that regard. Man, you might know Jamie Carragher having a little nipple there recently as well, and I was just like, Jamie, just stop. I don't have time for this online nonsense if you have nothing to say. And no, none of these guys have anything to say. Now, I don't know. I'm willing to accept that my opinion there is incredibly entitled. Very, very willing to accept. I'm a 50-year-old Liverpool fan. Of fucking course I'm entitled, Jan. Grew up with titles. I am the definition of an entitled man. I don't care who knows it. But I also don't think that's massively unreasonable to expect. Now, open to you putting me right on that.
No. I agree. I think the only decision that the new regime is not in charge of in terms of was the change of the manager. But every other decision that they're going to make is of their making, isn't it? Mm. If they want to sell players, they want to bring in players, whatever, they are decisions that they make. But they can then not use them as an excuse because we have something in place that would be able to give. We have a squad in place. If you look at the Champions League this year, I don't want to talk down Borussia Dortmund. I think it's a wonderful story. But if you look at the Champions League this year, had we been in the Champions League, Trevor, who knows?
Yes.
We'd have probably been in the semi-final, wouldn't we? If you look at, City and Real Madrid apart, we're better than all the other teams that was in the Champions League. And so that's the kind of squad he's inheriting, isn't it? That's the kind of squad they are inheriting, the sporting setup, isn't it? So, yeah, why should we give him time to, by all means, bring in players and maybe they need a bit of time, 3 or 6 months or whatever, but that doesn't mean in the meantime that we don't have players who can compete. I mean, we were almost top of the league for 6, 7, 8 months, you know what I mean? We were right there. So yeah, in terms of that, there's no need for excuses in terms of that. Absolutely not. It's not a project longer. It's, Klopp was afforded that in terms of, we felt there was a project in it, but that very quickly sort of went, well, okay, it's already more than a project, isn't it? I mean, I've never been a fan of that word. Oh, it's a project, isn't it? I mean, what is a project? And when does a project stop being a project? And when do you change the course of a project? I don't really know. Let's just win some games. Let's win some games, and let's win more games than we lose. Let's win more games than most of the others because we've got better players and better squads than most of the others.
And what's unreasonable about that? Literally nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
that's I think everyone who's just like, I I want to be fair, and it's not about like being down on the new man straight away, but I think it would be really, really redundant if we were to start getting this fed to us from the chosen ones in the press again. It needs time from minute one. Maybe, yeah, okay, but maybe not that much time, and let's try to maximize. Do you know what really kills me, Jan? We've got a couple of great years left, potentially, of Virgil van Dijk. We could have a couple of great years left, potentially, of Mo Salah. We could have a couple of great years left of Alisson Becker. These are guys who are the best in their positions and have been for quite some time in the world. And it always kills me that we failed to win more trophies in the Klopp era. And it's not a dig at Klopp. And that's not what it's about. It's not a dig at the players that we've had. I mean, you can't achieve those points totals, that level of performance over so many years, coming so close and missing out. Do we have an early man status? Yeah. Is that a big feature of Jurgen Klopp's career? Yeah. But does that take away from the fact that we have been within an ass's roar of so many titles? No, it doesn't. And it's been a great ride and all the rest of it. I'm happy for all of that. But why would you be happy to tumble back into some sort of mediocrity now where we become a Spurs or a Chelsea? That makes no sense to me. And I suppose when you think about it then, last week we dipped into this a little bit and there's been a few more bits and pieces since. So we might as well just go there now. in terms of solidifying that, we've had a game to watch in the interim where we managed to roundly batter Spurs for roughly, what was it, about 60 minutes or so, and then make several changes and weaken ourselves to the extent that we allowed them back into it. Also, the combination of them introducing a couple of good players who had an impact. But we have gotten a chance to see, well, this is what we can do, and this is the standard we can attain. Literally blowing away a Premier League rival like that. When you see that, Jan, you see like the likes of Harvey Elliott putting his hand up. Again, it's the question I asked you last week, but with the reminder that we're not actually awful, which I think we needed. Where do you see the most urgent need for recruitment? And I know, of course, it's based on outgoings. We can't predict who that's going to be. We might have a good idea that there'll be at least one of our big attackers going. We know one of our big defenders will be going in the form of Joel Matip. We know we could do with a central midfielder. Is it as simple as that for you? 3 up the spine?
So obviously we will still have 3 centre halves. Is that right? Well, we'll have 4, won't we? We'll have Van Dijk, Gomez, Kwanzaa, and Konate. So we'll still have 4 centre halves. And I think these things will play a big role in Michael's putting the squad together. And he'll go, well, 4 centre halves is a lot. We've also got the young boy who's on loan at Mainz, Seth van der Berg. I don't know whether there's any plans with him or not. It wouldn't surprise me, Trevor. They would never say it publicly because the people now you'll never hear from Michael Edwards and whatever. But it wouldn't surprise me if Michael Edwards is sitting down right now and going, we need to rebuild our midfield. It wouldn't surprise me if he's going, we need to rebuild our midfield. The midfield is the one more than anything, I think, right now that wins you trophies. Yeah. If you look at Manchester City's midfield, if you look at the improvement Arsenal did with Declan Rice, it's your midfield, isn't it? You know, and I think they're looking. And I always, Trevor, when I talk to people, I said, well, look what we were like when we were at our best with Fabinho, Henderson, and Wijnaldum. That was Michael Edwards' midfield, who their numbers in terms of playing in a team was unbelievable. You know, their stats was unbelievable. So it wouldn't surprise me if Michael Edwards sits down and go, we might have to rebuild our midfield here again. Endo, okay, but it's 60, 70 minutes, maybe 30 times a season. That's not enough, is it? Bajcetic, yeah, okay, give time, young player. Curtis Jones, where are we at with him? 1 minute looks good, the next minute you're not too sure. Dominic Szoboszlai, again, fair enough, give him 12 months to settle in. But I think there's things to be looked at there, Trevor, and I think that would be a big part. Because I think Michael knows that if you or Richard usually, if you solve the midfield, you solve a lot of problems. Do you remember what we used to say about that midfield, Trevor? It must be a dream to play behind them. Yeah? And it must be a dream to play in front of them. You know, because they were so good, weren't they? You know, they were so good at covering. They were so good at stepping up and pressing second balls, allowing our attacking players to take a gamble, to take a dribble, because they knew if we lost it, bang, our midfield boys were there right on top of them. You know what I mean? And that, in fairness, was almost our strength, wasn't it? Losing the ball in the final third, midfield boy being right in there, winning it back and going bang, bang, bang in the back of the net. So I think that's going to be a big thing where Michael's going to be looking at how easy do we play through our midfield at the moment, Trevor? How easy do we, you know, and I think it's too easy. So I wouldn't surprise me if he goes. But I still think I'll come back to the interesting bit is Cody Gakpo. You know, we gave Bobby Firmino the time that he needed to settle in because we're well aware that Brendan Rodgers went, this boy's not good enough. You know, what am I going to do with him? And he ended up playing in wide left and whatever. We gave him the time that he needed. Cody Gakpo is the only one we got off the front 5 who can do what he does. He's the only one who can link it, Trevor. He's the only one who is not relying on his physicality, his pace. He's relying on his football intelligence. You know, so I think he's so important. And I think that's one decision they have to make. You know, is Cody Gakpo the right man? Can he take a team to close winning A, B, and C? Okay, if not, We need somebody else to link it all together. And the good thing with Cody Gakpo, and I'm not about to sell him, but the good thing with Cody Gakpo is that he probably falls into a price range where there'd be quite a few teams interested in case you go, well, okay, it's not for us. But you can go, well, you say, well, Arne Slot, or they go, David Nunes is not for us. You go, well, okay, how do we get rid of him? You know, because there won't be a lot of clubs, we can't get our money back and they've got the wages and whatever. So I think the midfield will be an instant a problem with them. They might look at the left back, Trevor, with Tsimikas consistently, I feel, coming up short when we see him. But I also think they have to make a decision on which of the front guys is the one that knits it all together. But yet, I mean, you make 3 good signings, Trevor, and you're in business. I was at Crystal Palace on Monday, Crystal Palace, Manchester United, and it's comedy, Trevor. It's comedy. But Michael Olise and Eze, you know, they're just wonderful footballers, you know. And I've seen somebody today go, no, I don't think Liverpool... I could not see any reason why City, Arsenal, Liverpool would not sign Michael Olise, 22-year-old. He's got all the talent. He's got all the swagger in the world. But he's a big, strong boy. He's quick. You know, he's got everything. And they're talking 60 million, you know what I mean, Trevor? I really, really like him. I know a lot of people got Petro Neto at Wolves. Yeah, okay, Petro Neto is great, isn't it? But I think he's a bit more loose in his play. You don't quite know where you're going to get. He's not the same. He has the same physicality. He's got the same pace, you know. Whereas Michael Olise is always head up, sees everything, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was talking about before. Cody Gakpo, maybe you could have an Olise doing it from the left, being almost like a playmaker on the left, you know what I mean? But what a talent.
The only reason I think he won't end up at one of the clubs you mentioned is because apparently Manchester United already have him in the bag, Jan. You see,
okay.
That was kind of a done deal immediately after the game. Apparently, those guys, God bless them, they're just so happily delusional. It's still great to watch. Yeah, the only stuff I've been able to watch this week, there's been a lot of retrospective stuff about Klopp and sentimental stuff. There was a show last night, and I think it was last night on ESPN. They were advertising it heavily. Kenny's young one, Kelly Dalglish, was on it, hosting it, and it was a kind of a retrospective on Klopp. People were saying that the 5-minute trailer was making them emotional. I'm like, yeah, I'm not watching any of that. So I've been opting out of all that kind of stuff, and all the 5-year anniversary of the magic of the miracle of Anfield versus Barcelona, all that stuff. Opting out of it completely, not watching any of it. But you know what I have been watching was some retrospective video footage from that night and others of Fabinho and how freaking good he was, and we forget that. And that's exactly, I think, what you're getting at there. You know, when you have Fabinho, listen, Henderson was what Henderson was, tremendously energetic. When he was at his best, he was a really, really good addition to the team. But when you had Gini Wijnaldum, who was probably the best out ball in football as far as I could see, and you have Fabinho, who was the best interceptor of a ball and reader of the game in that defensive way, I mean, that's a platform nobody can live with. As you said, it just put us on a different level. Are there lads out there, maybe this is a daft question, are there lads you know of that are out there? Like, I mean, we had the whole flirtation with the hugely expensive end of the market in the lad who we lost out to Chelsea on Caicedo. We also lost out to Chelsea on another young fella. Then there was Kevin Turam as well. We were linked with one or two of the lads who ended up going to Real Madrid for massive money and currently are floating around the edges of their first team, the likes of Bellingham and Tchouameni and all these people. Like you said, we're not going to be dancing at that end of the ballroom under Michael Edwards' sort of leadership in terms of his new stewardship at the club. Do you think there are young players out there in the Fabinho bracket? Because I will be honest enough to admit that I think I'd seen Fabinho play once and thought he seemed decent. I had no notion of how wonderful he would be. Now, the drop-off when it came to Fabinho was spectacular. But while he was good, he was untouchable. Are there the likes of him out there that you're aware of?
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.